I walked out of Memorial Bayou Hospital in Houston, bone-tired. Rain slapping sideways, 3 missed calls from my landlord. Lighting up a cracked screen, and there on my apartment landing was a man in a ruined suit, clutching a 6-day-old baby lips, a little blue blanket, soaked eyes, begging in a way that made my stomach drop before my brain caught up. He whispered, "Please," like the word might break in his mouth. I dropped to my knees without thinking, 2 fingers at his pulse, hand to the baby's chest. Counting breaths, doing the math only nurses do in storms at 2 a.m. And when I said we're going inside, he didn't argue. I didn't know yet that the stranger was Cole Harrington, the billionaire who put his face on half the construction permits in the city. All I knew was the baby's name was Luna, and the rain wouldn't let up, you know what I mean. My place is 1 room and a stubborn radiator, but it was warm, so I cranked the heat a strip. The damp blanket got a bottle mixed and tested on my wrist. Slid his arms under Luna the right way. Coached his hands, while she latched and color came back to her face like a sunrise in fast forward. And I watched the boulder come off his shoulders as he whispered thank you, over and over, like a prayer. Nobody taught him. The thing about grief, it sits in a room with you, whether or not you put out a chair. And when I asked where's her mother, he said complications. 1 word too heavy for the radiator to lift. And I nodded, because I have seen that word, I have held it for families, when there was nothing left to hold. He looked like the kind of man who never misses a meeting, and somehow missed everything that matters. I looked like a nurse with $32 and a soft spot. I pretend I don't have, so I gave him my bed. I took the chair, and between 2 and 6, we learned that Luna prefers the bottle a little warmer, that the sound of humming can slow a man's breathing, and that sometimes mercy shows up in thrift store furniture. At 8 a.m., trouble arrived in perfect heels. A knock that rattled the picture frames. A woman with a briefcase and eyes that could cut drywall. Introduced herself as Elena Park. Chief of Staff said Bayou. Heights renewal was falling apart. Langford Group threatening to walk $12.8 million on the line, and 280 jobs the board asking where their CEO disappeared to, and the rumor mill grinding its teeth. Cole said, "Let them walk. My daughter is my only job today." Elena's voice softened by half a degree, which for her still read winter. And she said, "Compromise like a surgeon." Says scalpel, 2 hours, 1 meeting, executive suite next to the conference room turned into a nursery. Soundproofed, stocked. Ms. Lewis can watch the child while you stop a freefall. I should have said no on principle, but 280 jobs stared at me like patients in a waiting room. So I said 2 hours, and you get me a car seat. That happened. If you've never pushed a newborn in a loaner carrier through a midtown high-rise with marble floors that swallow your footsteps, it feels like walking a secret through a museum. People look and look away, which is its own kind of looking. The suite had more square footage than my entire life, a view that made the bayou look like ribbon, and a monitor that piped in the meeting like a heartbeat. So I sat with Luna while Cole adjusted his tie, with the hands of a man who was used to moving mountains with money and had to trust 2 women and a baby monitor instead. On the speaker, I heard the choreography of a high-stakes meeting, numbers thrown like darts, deadlines hissing. Then Cole clearing his throat and saying, "Before we talk bids, I owe you the truth," and he told a room full of suits that he left because his wife died and his daughter was 6 days old, and he was learning to breathe again. He said the project was never about trophies. It was about sidewalks and clinics and rent people could breathe under it. It was about building a city. his little girl could be proud of when she asks what he did with his power. You could hear the room lean without seeing a face. Langford pushed back because they had to. That's how partners prove they're alive. But the temperature shifted when a man told the truth in a place that rewards posture, and by the time I had dabbed spit up off my dress with a baby wipe and a prayer, the meeting ended with the kind of silence that comes before a handshake. Cole came back flushed and a little winded, like he had run across a bridge. Said they're staying, and we're adding a pediatric clinic, and I grinned like an idiot, while Luna cooed like she wrote the agenda, and if the story ended there, we could all clap and fade to black. But life loves the long cut. After the adrenaline, he did what men like him do when the world tilts. He tried to fix it with money. We toured a River Oaks mansion. Rebecca, the realtor, called timeless, and I called a museum that forgot to be warm. And in the staged nursery, he made a pitch like a contract salary and housing and insurance. You can quit the hospital or go part-time. We'll make it official. I want to take care of you the way you took care of us. I heard my pride click its pen, and I said so I'd be your employee. He tried to catch it midair. No family. The salary is just to remove pressure. And I said, "Do you hear how that sounds?" Because to me, it sounded like a cage with velvet walls. We fought the way people fight when they both care, and both are wrong in different ways. I said, I am not for sale, and my independence has teeth. He said he was terrified I'd vanish when the crisis calmed, and the only lever he has ever known is money. And under the argument was a truth we both had to learn. He cannot buy choice, and I cannot mistake help for handcuffs. We walked away from the mansion and found a crooked little bungalow near the Heights' creaky floors and a kitchen that believes in Sunday breakfast. Put both our names on the mortgage, even though his name alone could have bought the whole block. I kept my shifts at the hospital, 3/12s clean and honest, and he went back to the office with rules he wrote himself. No meetings after 6, no weekends, unless a bridge collapses or a school roof caves in. And we learned the choreography of 2 adults and 1 small queen who rules with a fistful of banana. Elena came by with contracts, and a new look in her eye said, I misjudged you. Thought you were a complication. Turns out you're infrastructure. And I smiled with all my teeth because even a compliment sounds like a ledger when it comes from her. Then we sat under bad fluorescent lights at the county office, while a social worker handed us papers and a judge stamped guardianship, so the world would behave when it looked at me and Luna. Because paper doesn't make a mother, but it makes schools and hospitals and airports treat you like family instead of a question mark. 6 months after the hallways and the storm, Cole stood in our kitchen burning toast and holding a small box said, I know we said slow, and we did slow, and it worked. But I want the paperwork too. I want ordinary Tuesdays, and a porch, and a life that isn't built on emergencies. If more kids are in the cards, we will figure it out. If not, we will still have a whole world to build. And he opened the box, and the ring was simple and right. And I said yes, because the life we were living deserved a name, not because of a headline, or a mansion, or a fairy tale. If you need a clean ending here, it is. The project is on track. The clinic is in the plans. Luna's name is on the refrigerator, next to a crooked crayon. Son, my badge still beeps me into the ICU at 6 a.m., and his calendar stops at dinner because a baby doesn't care about shareholders. But real life keeps breathing. The board still wants reports. Donors still want timelines. The internet still has opinions about a nurse with guardianship of a billionaire's child. Because of course it does. And some days, I still hear the knock of doubt at the door and choose us anyway. So tell me where you land. Was I right to turn down a paycheck offered with good intentions and bad framing? Was he wrong to throw money at a problem before he learned another language? Should a board get to measure a grieving father by hours? At a conference table, should a woman like me have to eat condescension in marble lobbies? Because the city needs a clinic, or is that the tax for building something bigger than ourselves? Drop your truth in the comments, argue with me. Tell me a story you lived that changed your mind, and if this hit you somewhere real, like and subscribe, so more people hear it. Money and mercy, pride and power, justice, wearing a baby blanket and asking for a bottle. I can take the heat, and one day Luna will read it and know her family was built on showing up, on saying no to the easy yes, on choosing each other one ordinary Tuesday at a time.